afternoon. I know it sounds like I was playing poker all night. I wasn't. I think we collectively hold the future of blockchain in our hands. It's a pretty important responsibility. So I'm not going to talk excessively about the technology. I'm going to talk about what we're using it for today. And I think the most exciting thing for us is to really understand in a detailed diagram how it all works. This is not the detailed diagram. Typically, whether it's looking at crypto or whether it's looking at DLT, it's pretty simple to understand. If you're reading anything about this, you're getting either trapped in the hype or you're down in the dumps and miserable. It's not working. It's a disaster. And on the horizontal axis, we talk about utility. On the vertical axis, we talk about value. And I got sort of fed up reading about these things and hearing about them. So it's kind of staggering if you think about this, and I know you probably all know this, but 90% of all data has been created in the last 2 years. So during the time we've been sitting here, probably another 5% of the world's data has been created because it's logarithmic, it's not linear. And I think we're all pretty well aware of the threats that are in existence today, and legacy systems are simply falling apart. Now, the purpose of this speech here was to talk about what we're doing in enterprises, so I'll be getting to that in a second. We're also kind of shocked when I look around with a lot of our staff. We've got over 200 people today. I'll repeat that, over 200. I'm not sure you can even hear me. But what we're finding is that across the board, back-end systems have been ignored, and that's for generations. I spent 20 years trying to help structure unstructured data, and I'll tell you something, it just didn't get addressed. So the result is it's been a dream for hackers, existential threats, and so on. So it's no surprise what we're talking about here is that there is no trust. The information is simply not being shared. By the way, Tommy, that was very, very good presentation. And the presentations here today have been fascinating. I'm going to tell you what we're doing, which is in application, in enterprise today, in production. So I think we've all heard this from Goldman Sachs, talking about the way the world is going to be reshaped. Sure, blockchain is going to change everything, except for one problem. There are very few building blocks, and that's, I guess, what we're all talking about today. In our view, we collectively hold the future of blockchain in our hands, and humans have failed consistently. And I think for us, what we ended up doing was we built a comprehensive platform, whether it's our own RDBMS and entire database for blockchain. We're now using DLT's blockchain IoT. We have some fancy name for it, but it's effectively ensuring that we're integrating IoT data with blockchain. And we decided we'd build whatever was needed. So we built what we call ASICs. It's a horrible phrase, but application specific integrated kernels. I'm going to make it through this, by the way. And whatever's needed in terms of middleware, we built some very generic but flexible applications for whatever you need, fully modular. And we're the engineers of uncomplicated trust. It's a phrase that Sergey helped to come up with, and I think he finally came up with it. Sergey was the CIO at Walmart Canada, and he was the founder of Walmart Labs. Our largest client is Walmart Canada. So what happens is our platform enables what you would hope, what you would expect. So talking about the leverage, we believe firmly in 2 or 3 things. First of all, most of the world's problems are poor data and poor data management. I know that sounds a little crazy. You have all the other challenges out there, but we believe in it. Secondly, we believe in intellectual property. I had the pleasure of winning the largest case in history in the U.S. in patents that went all the way through the U.S. Supreme Court. It's the largest case ever affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court and Federal Circuit Court of Appeal, but we're very passionate about patents. Third thing is we believe in people. So we've ended up training last year in India over 3,000 people in blockchain technology. This year it'll be 10,000. So we have our ecosystem. It's impossible to read. and I'll move very quickly. So, what is the largest company in the world by revenue? You all know? Anyway, Walmart, largest company in the world by far, by revenue, sits atop the supply chain. Our client is Walmart Canada. We expect to see this solution we developed extended throughout their whole ecosystem. And it is the largest industrial grade, mission critical rollout we believe in the world today. It's in full production and it works. So what is it? Basically, carriers, all the trucking companies have one heck of a hard time working together with the large, whoever it is. In this particular case, it's the retailer, it's Walmart. How do you integrate all that data? Each trucking company, some are very sophisticated, some are hopeless. Some of them have very complicated systems, some have none. So how do you integrate that with Walmart? Walmart has its own host of legacy systems. We think it's arrogant and idiotic to walk into major enterprises and tell them to undo what they've been doing for years and completely adopt brand new systems. Our philosophy is to work together with their legacy systems, and it's really as simple as using the APIs to hook in, set up our shared ledger, and ensure that the information flows as it should on a trusted basis. We started out doing a lot of work in the permissionless environments. We've ended up today for these implementations and instantiations working on a permission-based environment. Why? Because if you go to a large retailer like this, you're going to have to pass 8 or 10 security audits. So it's great talking about having systems that are phenomenally powerful, but they're not going to work. They're not going to get accepted. You're not going to make any money, certainly not in the short term. So this large retailer happens to be Walmart Canada. They have a lot of deliveries, as you can imagine. I'm not sure if I have this scaled out here. They have a lot of deliveries, as you can imagine. And what happens is the reconciliation is extremely difficult for what happened. So you have a host of variable charges. Every single delivery, I don't know how many people here have a calculator, but every single delivery has up to 170 incremental charges and variable costs. So multiply the number of carriers, in the US it's 2,000, times the number of variable costs per delivery, 170. Multiply that times the number of deliveries. I can allow you to speculate. In Canada, it's 25 billion a year in products that move around. And in the US, it's probably 10 times that. And now try and figure out how many systems each company is using badly. And so our objective and our mandate was to ensure we could have real-time actionable data, real-time reconciliation, and ensure that it worked. Work with legacy systems, and then take a bunch of truck drivers. Anybody here ever been a truck driver? No? Just me? I used to be a Teamster. I used to carry money for Brinks. And so I was a Teamster for 5 years, so I'm somewhat familiar with truck driving. Anyway, that's what we did. And it's been rolled out, it's been deployed. It's in production today, and the cost savings are absolutely astronomical. We're not allowed to tell you what they are, but hopefully one day we'll do a formal case study. We're in production elsewhere. We've got offices in Singapore, Tokyo, 2 in India, Canada, and we're expanding rapidly, over 200 people, as I mentioned. So we've met the security requirements. We've enabled a vast compression of time. I think it's fair to say that Walmart is as good as it gets in terms of supply chain management. But even there, it was weeks and weeks and weeks of reconciliation required, trying to figure out who delivered what, where, when, and was it off-road mileage, and how much, and what was the carbon tax, and did you do it before midnight or after midnight? So that's what we did. And the other area we've been very actively involved in, or among them, is ethical mineral tracing and tracking. Cobalt in the Congo. So I've been doing business in the Congo for 20 years, and clearly there's a massive need. In fact, there's an economic model now for it. Without the economic model, it does not get accepted. Believe me, nobody will ever adopt it. Now there's a 6.5% penalty at the end if you can't prove it's ethically mined. So it's another area we've been involved in, and very, very effective. So look, I try to keep it very simple and very high level, but I hope that all of us collectively take this pretty seriously, because anyone who's worked in any back-end system anywhere knows how chaotic and debilitating, and it's kind of like stone tablets, except a little faster, not much. And we got to get past the stone tablet thing. So we'd love to work together with anyone here. We're looking for partners. While we're doing business solutions today, we're moving to a model where we can expand much more rapidly, and it's working with partners and allowing people to use we've demystified the creation of whatever's required in terms of blockchain-enabled solutions. And we're doing it on the basis, just think of a mini Oracle with someone whose voice is completely destroyed, but a mini Oracle. So we have a comprehensive platform. We're looking for partners everywhere. And by the way, thank you, Athens. Thank you, Greece. My goodness, what an incredible country. Cannot believe this country. These guys were virtually bust how long ago? And now they bounced back. This is phenomenal. We're going to set up here. We're going to be working with supply chain logistics companies as we do now all over the world. But the shipping industry, of course, is massive. The opportunities are huge. So nobody go home. Everybody stay here at Athens. It's going to be phenomenal, I think, over the next decade. So that's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.